Doodah Dave here. Been trying to shoot this video all day. Welcome back. I want to thank the people who are watching this channel to watch this today. I am going to do a video on on covers of the Beatles. I'm going to do influences next. This is covers. So no particular order. Let's get into it. Shout out for my vinyl night coming up on Thursday. A week from Thursday, that would be March 26th, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Hope to see you there. Light snacks. It'll be $20, and we're going to do the later years of the Beatles, all analog, all vinyl. We're going to bring my system, set it up, play, have a little discussion, play some music, and see how it goes. Hopefully we'll have a little vinyl therapy going. All right? Great. All right. Let's get into Beatles covers. Number one, Herbie Mann. Herbie Mann, I don't think gets enough love in the jazz community. A great flute player, did some really interesting albums. This is called London Underground, and has Mick Taylor on guitar. You know that. More rock guy, Albert Lee, who actually played with the Beatles in solo, I believe. I don't think he ever recorded with the Beatles. They didn't use any other guitarists other than George, except for Clapton on While My Guitar. Fuzzy Samuels on bass, the great bass player Ainsley Dunsbar on drums, fantastic drummer. Robbie McIntosh on drums from Average White Band. Ian MacDonald on alto sax, that I believe is on the King Crimson album. Stephen Grappelli on violin. So he's got some fantastic sidemen here. He does Bitch, this Stones tune, Something in the Air, Thunderclap Newman, Layla, Donovan, Procol Harum, Paper Sun, the Steve Winwood Traffic tune, and the last tune is You Never Give Me Your Money from Abbey Road, a Lennon McCartney tune. So, and that has Albert Lee and Pat Rebelot on electric piano with Herbie. So it's a trio. Produced by Ahmet Ertegun on Atlantic, and this is a 1974 release. Okay? Cover, jazz flute. This is a guy that did a lot of Beatles covers, Mr. Joe Cocker. And I was kind of thinking, 69, they were in the studio, doing Abbey Road and Get Back and all that stuff coming out of the White Album. And they didn't make it to Woodstock. But this guy, he was kind of their English ambassador, right? Because he lit it up with a little help from my friends, oddly enough. This was his second album. I'm not doing these in order. 69, and this had She Came In Through the Bathroom Window. Also great side people. Produced by Denny Cordell and Leon Russell. Denny Cordell ran Shelter Records for Leon Russell, the great side guy. I love Leon Russell. Singer, piano player, composer. Chris Stanton, who now plays in Clapton's band. Alan Spencer on bass, great session bass guy. Played with a lot of people. I think he played with like Elton John and people like that. Leon, of course, on piano, organ, and guitar. Milt Holland on percussion. Sneaky Pete Kleinow on guitar. Clarence White on guitar from the Byrds. Sneaky Pete from the Flying Burrito Brothers, country. Sneaky Pete does pedal steel. Also Paul Humphreys on drums, another great drummer. And lovely Mary Clayton, Bonnie Bramlett, Rita Coolidge. How'd you like that as your backup singers? Oh my God. That's awesome. Remix, master engineer Glenn Johns. So this is a great album. Joe Cocker's self-titled second album on A&M. On A&M? Yeah, A&M. Great stuff. Just a standard A&M label. This is my original copy of that. And then I mentioned, with a little help from my friends, this was from the Woodstock album. He did it live in the Woodstock album. I actually have 4 discs because I got a second one, and I only had one from my original. So I have 4. Don't ask. It's complicated. The original Woodstock album on Cotillion. Yeah, Joe's one of the best. If you've seen the movie, if you listened to or if you were there, he was one of the best performers, in my opinion. There, Joe, with a little help from my friends, really lights it up. And there's a great, I don't usually recommend comedy things on YouTube, but there's a great, there it is in the middle, a little help from my friends. So many good people in the Woodstock album and live of John Belushi, Jim Belushi's brother, of course, John Belushi, doing an impersonation of Cocker, and it's great. And I put all my Cocker together. I got it together for that. So this is Cocker, the original album with a little help from my friends. You know, interesting, Joe Cocker and Traffic are the only people that I have self-titled as their second album. He did with a little help from my friends, and they did Dear Mr. Fantasy. I guess it was an English thing. Now, this is an interesting album, 1968. Can you guys see the people on the back here? So there's Joe up top, and right below him on the left is Steve Winwood. On the right is Jimmy Page. Talk about having rock royalty on your first album. Chris Stanton, I already mentioned, playing keys with Eric Clapton now. Mike Kelly, B.J. Wilson, and Matthew Fisher from Procol Harum on here. So this has the original with a little help from my friends. Came out in 68, so it came out the year before. Woodstock, of course, was 69. And he had B.J. Wilson on the drums. He had Stanton on bass. Interesting. I didn't know Stanton played bass. I thought he just played keys. All right. Tommy Iyer on organ. Don't really know him. Jimmy Page on guitar. There you go. Backing vocals, Madeline Bell, Sonny Wheatman, and Rosetta Hightower. And this is mixing engineer Tony Visconti. You probably know that name. Producer of many David Bowie. I was watching a thing, you were talking about Bowie's last album, Black Star, today. He's got Feeling All Right, talking about Traffic, Bye Bye Blackbird, the old standard that, of course, Ray Charles and stuff did. Change in Louise. Actually, Tony Visconti plays guitar on here as well. Change in Louise, which was a Joe Cocker, Chris Stanton original. Margarine, another Cocker, Stanton original. And Just Like a Woman, Bob Dylan. Couple more. Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. Of course, the Animals. Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. That was Animals, right? Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood. Yeah. And with the help of my friends. And Bob Dylan, I Shall Be Released. So it opens with Traffic, closes with Bob Dylan. So just a great album. Pick that one off. All right, one more Joe Cocker. I told you he's Mr. Beatles cover. This is the Mad Dogs and Englishmen. Came out in 70, the year after, and he played the Fillmore. The year after Woodstock, played the Fillmore. This was recorded at the Fillmore. There's a movie of this too. So that tells you what a big star he was from Woodstock, that he got a huge tour with all these people. Leon running the Master of Time and Space, a movie to go with it, like Woodstock, headlining the Fillmore. She came in the bathroom window again. So, and doesn't interesting. I thought with a little help from my friends was on this. I think he sang it, but he'd probably done it at Woodstock Live, so he wanted to do a live version of She Came In. So we had studio She Came In, live She Came In, studio with a little help, and live with a little help. Moving right along, so I'm trying to make my videos here for you guys a little bit shorter. Shout out to my wonderful wife who's helping me with Vinyl Night and helping me get signups for March 26th. I'm going to keep promoting it. So I want to try to do this in person, and we're going to try to live stream it as well. This is Stevie Wonder's Greatest Hits, Volume 2. And this has a Beatles cover on it, We Can Work It Out, which I think is an interesting Beatles cover to do. It's really interesting going through the covers of who picked what. You Never Give Me Your Money, the Herbie Mann and stuff. It's very, very interesting how they decided to get it. I mean, I don't think it was a price thing. I don't. And I don't think the label, they strikes me like the artist picked the particular song that they did. So we can work it out from, it's on Revolver, right? We can work it out? Pretty sure. Around that era, 65, 66. Just makes the later years that we're going to focus on vinyl night. But this is the Stevie Wonder. This came out in, well, this is the greatest hits in 71. I'm not sure exactly when We Can Work It Out was released. I don't have the original it was on, but this is Greatest Hits Volume 2. Stevie, there's the Tamla, cool Tamla, part of the Motown family. Great original inner sleeve on this with a lot of, including the great Marvin Gaye with his super hits, and he's dressed like a superhero. And then in the back, you can like order all this cool Motown stuff, mugs and banners and posters and photo stamps and stuff like that. All right, moving right along. Wes Montgomery, one of my favorite jazz artists. This was on A&M, and this is Road Song, and has Yesterday on it. Yes, Yesterday. This was I think this was his last album. Really sad. He died of a heart attack at a very young age, 45. This was 68, and he was recorded in May of 68, and he died in June of 68. Fantastic album to get Hank Jones on piano, Herbie Hancock on piano, Grady Tate on drums, Ray Barretto on percussion, Marvin Stamm, really good session trumpeter here. Like that. CTI, Creed Taylor's great album covers they had on CTI, Road Song. So we'll do some more, you'll see some more Wes Montgomery, fantastic jazz guitar player. This is a Garcia. You can kind of tell by the Dayglow cover. This is a later Garcia. This album doesn't get a lot of love. Run for the Roses. This is Jerry's last studio album. Of course, he did a lot of live stuff and a lot of CDs, some stuff not even released on vinyl, although it's coming around on vinyl now. Run for the Roses had a second song was I Saw Her Standing There. And, Jerry was, I don't think he was definitely in his 40s by the 80s, because in the 90s he was in his 50s, or pushing 40. And, it's such an early song of theirs, but it's great. Ron Todd on drums, he drummed for Elvis. Michael O'Martian, the great keyboard player, played with, everybody, Steely Dan and Christopher Cross, and his go-to on bass, John Kahn. I think this is a really good album. I love Valerie. I think Valerie's as good a song as Althea. I know he's got a Dylan cover on here, Knocking on Heaven's Door to End It Up. And Run for the Roses is a great, and that's 4 great songs on the album. I mean, I know we get greedy with Jerry. We want every single song to be a banger, as they say. Hubert Laws, early Hubert Laws, Crying Song. I think this was 69. Cut in Memphis at Muscle Shoals. You got Benson, you got Bob James, you got Hubert Laws, and the Beatles cover is Let It Be. Very nice. Again, interesting choices, right? Hubert Laws with flute. This is a great, great album. Love Is Blue is on here. I love that song. He's got Feeling All Right. Talking about, that was something people like to cover. It was a big hit, and when Cocker did it, he made it a hit again. American Sound Studios. It wasn't cut at Fame. It was in Memphis. Did I say Muscle Shoals? I meant Memphis. Rudy Van Gelder was the engineer. 69 September. Bobby Emmons or Hubert Ron Carter on bass, Bill Cobham and Grady Tate on the drums. So this is Marvin. There's Marvin Stamm again on trumpet. So this was Creed, but Creed was doing his CTI was part of A&M CTI. Creed Taylor International, I think it was, or Incorporated, was part of A&M, owned it at that point. great, great releases. The album covers are beautiful. The players are great. Another Wes Montgomery. This has Yesterday on it from the Road song. This is the greatest hits. See some of his albums down there. Well, those are other A&Ms. A&M again. And this also has Day in the Life. Very nice version of Day in the Life. Now, I heard the Jeff Beck. I don't have Jeff Beck's Day in the Life, unfortunately, on vinyl. I want to get it, the live version, on Ronnie Scott, at Ronnie Scott's. And I think he's with Tal Wilkenfeld on that. I think. He might be with the other woman. I'm not sure. I got to double check that. But it's great. Whatever. I think there's also a Live at the Hollywood Bowl that he did Day in the Life live. It also has Eleanor Rigby on here. So there's 3 Beatles covers with the Yesterday aforementioned. Notice we haven't had very many Harrisons. It's been mostly Lennon and McCartney's. And mostly, well, we've had early, we've had middle, we've had late, I guess, if you call. There's kind of like early and late with the Beatles. There's not really a middle. It kind of goes from, as of like Rubber Soul, after the movies, and they were ingesting substances, the LSD and the weed and all that stuff, and meeting Dylan after 65. It kind of goes into a late stage for me. All right, this is very interesting Sinatra album, Portrait of Sinatra. It's on Reprise, which was his own label, as people know, but this is a UK press, UK actually record. I don't think they ever released Portrait of Sinatra. I guess my mom must have bought this in England because it was my mom's. I guess she could have gotten an import here, but it's unusual. And it has George Harrison. I was just talking about George Harrison something. And the famous story is, I'm sure you guys have probably heard this if you're Beatles fans, that I'd like to do a Lennon and McCartney. Everybody was doing Lennon and McCartney. So I guess the fact that there were so few Harrison songs being covered, the fact that Francis Albert made that mistake, we kind of forgive him. You know what I mean? All right, my video is running long. Let me get through these. This is one I didn't expect. Day Tripper, which is a really good song. You can hear my son Dylan saying, "Don't sing, Dad." But it's my video, so I can do whatever I want, right? Also, this is the other Portrait of Sinatra. I was like, I didn't know James Taylor was on Reprise. It's Day Tripper. It's on the Flag album, 1979. Cool album cover, kind of doing, the 80s graphics, bright color thing. And it's really good cover. I love James Taylor. I love his original stuff, and I love his covers. He's one of those guys that can go back and forth. So he does a really, really nice job with Day Tripper on this. And he's got Leland Sklar on this, I know, and who is a producer? Peter Asher. Peter Asher of Beatles and Apple fame. Peter Asher also produced, I believe, Linda Ronstadt, right? Peter Asher worked with Linda Ronstadt and a bunch of other people. And Peter Asher's daughter, Jane Asher, dated Paul McCartney before Linda. Some Beatles trivia there. Vanilla Fudge. I had a feeling this would have a Beatles cover on. Of course, the big You Keep Me Hanging On, the Motown thing, the Holland Dozier Holland, Supremes done in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood so well, used by Quentin Tarantino in Once Upon a Hollywood in the big climax scene with when Brad Pitt is tripping. Talk about tripping. Very psychedelic album. Here's the guys in the back, and the rhythm section from this, Bogart and Appice, I believe is how they pronounce it. Tim Bogart and Carmen Appice were the rhythm section with Beck, Bogart, and Appice, and also the rhythm section in Cactus. So they were very, very good. Eleanor Rigby actually has 2, right? It opens with Ticket to Ride. Another, again, an interesting one. Day Tripper I could see, but Ticket to Ride, it's pretty cool. And then ends up with Eleanor Rigby. That's psychedelic. It's got the images, but, and here's the Atco Vanilla Fudge original album. 60, I think this was 68. 68, right? 67. Yeah, this was early. Oh, and it's got cool, how many I got? Oh, I got a good one for my last one. Here's the Inner on Atlantic. They had a lot of really cool music. King Curtis and Buffalo Springfield and people like that. All right, moving right along. And last but never least, Jeff Beck. Interesting, I just talked about a piece and Bogart working with Beck. Here he was after that period. I love this album because I love this album for a lot of reasons. Blow by Blow, he did the fusion thing, but the cover is a painting and the back is the photograph. So I think that's pretty awesome. And he played this, I saw this tour, the Blow by Blow tour, amazing. So he does She's a Woman. Now that's a really deep Beatles cut. I don't believe I have that on, I don't think I have a copy of it either on CD or on vinyl. The Blow by Blow album on Epic, just fantastic. Max Middleton lights it up with the keyboards on this, unbelievable. And you had on bass Phil Chen and Richard Bailey on the drums. So that's that quartet, incredible. People like Wired, but I'm a Blow by Blow fan. I mean, it was so fresh, it was so out there in your face, fantastic. All right, way over time. Went a little longer. Beatles covers. Next, we're going to do Beatles influences. So keep on spinning. Please like. Thank you again for watching my video. I want to thank my subscribers. I want to thank my Doodah Davers out there, my record spinners. And don't forget, Vinyl Night on the 26th. And coming this weekend, we'll do Beatles influences. All right. Take care. Have a great one.